Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 95 of the Revive Yourself podcast. Here we go.
Are you sick and tired of being sick and tired? Have you got a health issue that just won't go away no matter what you try? Then welcome to the Revive Yourself podcast, where we reveal the secrets to long-lasting health by getting to the root cause of problems that no one else is talking about. So you can have more energy, clear skin, healthier hair, a leaner physique, more confidence, and most importantly, do the things you love and live the life you deserve. Here's your host, Ryan Martin.
So guys and girls, welcome back to the show, episode 95. Not sure when this is going out, so if it's already 2019, I hope you had a great new year, and I hope you're ready to really take on 2019 and make it a great year for yourself. And if it's not 2019 yet, and you're still in 2018, you're building up to it, then I hope you have a great New Year's Eve and you really enjoy yourself. And always like to say to people, when it comes to setting goals for the new year, I know it's always big, new year, new me, which, you know, if it finally sticks for you, that's awesome. But just as you go throughout 2019, really try to make your goals something that you reevaluate every 3 months, so quarterly. And remember, when you're trying to, if it's a health kick or if it's anything, it's not just about doing things through willpower, because you've only got so much willpower and it eventually will run out. Doing things you don't like just because you're really just like struggling through them never lasts. And the same with health, if you're going to start eating differently or want to make big changes, coming from a place of I want that but I can't have it, never lasts. But if you come from a place of I can have that but I don't want it, that's very, very different. Becoming that healthy person or becoming the person you need to be, that's the difference. Not just struggling through things, but becoming the person you need to be. That's a game changer. My little bit of advice for 2019, guys and girls. As always, heading over to www.reviveyourself.co. We've got lots of articles all on health. Also got our shop there. We've got lots of quality products from the Finchley Clinic, Evolution Organics, Aries Tech for the radiation and EMF blockers as well. And for you, that guys and girls that can afford a whole house water filtration system and you haven't got one yet, I'd highly recommend one. This water, you're not just washing in it. You're cooking your food in it, you're brushing your teeth in it, you're washing your clothes in it. It's something that impacts you on a daily basis, and with all the toxins that are going into our water supply, it's very, very important. We've got different options on the site at our shop for 1, 2, 3 and 4 bedroom houses and over, and also for hard and soft water. So if you haven't got one, I definitely would. And if you can't afford one of them, then I'd get a wellness carafe, or I'd get a Flower of Life carafe from Atrium Purity. I'm also going to have some other products going on our site soon. We're going to have the infrared saunas. Anyone who can afford to get an infrared sauna, it's something that I would do every single day if I was you. Hugely important. One of the ways that we can get rid of toxins is through our skin, and the infrared sauna allows us to get to deep lying toxins that you can't get anywhere else. You can't get to anywhere else. Normal saunas are good, but the infrared sauna heats you rather than the room. That's why you can get to those deep lying toxins from that sauna. So we're going to have them on there from Clear Spring, so that's all coming. And as always, guys and girls, if you are struggling with a health issue and you'd love to overcome it and you haven't been able to do that so far and you're looking for help, the best way to get my help is to email me at ryan@reviveyourself.co, and we can book up a consultation to see if and how we can help you. So that's that. As for today's show, it's a real humdinger. It's with Dr. Jack Wolfson from www.drwolfson.com. Him and his wife are both there. His wife's a chiropractor as well. Really love to get her on the show, which we'll be setting up for the new year. But Jack has, Dr. Wolfson, I should say, has a book out at the moment called The Paleo Cardiologist. It's a great book. Amazon, I think it's number 1 bestseller on Amazon. And we go into all the reasons why a normal cardiologist could be costing you your life, could be killing you. He says, makes some big claims on this show that, I know they're true, but certain people listening, if you're not familiar with our work in holistic health, then you'll be like, really? How can normal cardiologists get things so wrong? So we're going into a lot of different topics, and as I said, it's a fascinating episode. So without further ado, here is Dr. Wolfson. Enjoy, and I'll see you on the other side. It's better if we go to audio, but if you hear me clear, we can do that. All good?
Yeah, no, I mean, audio is certainly fine, right? I mean,
Yeah.
so you're gonna release this on audio.
Release it on audio. Just sometimes just nice to say hello, or we can bounce off each other with a visual.
Yep.
My audio is fine. I'm happy to do this. It's up to you. If you're hearing me clear, we can just go like this.
Sounds good to me. I'm ready to roll whenever you are. I'll shut down my video. And how'd it go with Tom Levy?
Really good, really good. Yeah, second time I've had him. Second time I've had him on. So yeah, we were talking about today's one. Before he was episode 4, I think, or 5 of my podcast when we first come out a couple of years ago. We talked about vitamin C then, and vitamin C therapy, etc. And then today's one was all about his book, The Toxic Tooth, and about root canals and etc. Yeah, so it was good. It was good, really good. I just because I wouldn't want to talk about this. I had a couple of other dentists on, talked about it, but I just watched the movie as well. I don't know if you've seen the movie Root Cause, which has just come out.
Yeah, we did see it a couple of months ago, and it is fantastic. And certainly, Tom Levy, as a cardiologist, recognized that connection between the mouth and the heart early on, and it is a major factor. But it's very complicated because it's not just as easy as telling everybody, "Hey, just get all your root canal teeth removed." I think fundamentally, what we can use out of the message is to tell people to take care of their kids and to brush their freaking teeth and to get them on a low sugar diet, and to keep them away from fluoride water. That's the message, really, because adult dental issues, right? You're going to tell someone to remove 5 root canal teeth, and then are they going to get bridges? Are they going to get implants? What's all the collateral damage? Who needs it? Who doesn't need it? Who needs their cavitations cleaned out? Who doesn't? It's crazy.
Yeah, it's more. I think it's more for those people, like if you've got one, or maybe those people that may need one or have been told they may need one. It's like, well, here are your other options. Like this is, or like if you have had them done, then yeah, as you said before, like what can we do to boost your immune system? He was talking about thyroid. He said the number one cause of heart disease is root canal procedure, and that's a big statement. And Dr. Thomas Roux, obviously, who saw it in the program, said 97% of his patients with a root canal had breast cancer on that same side. I mean, that's not correlation and cause. I mean, that's like cause and effect. That 97%. That's a huge. He doesn't get much better than that, apart from the fact.
Well, I mean, listen. With all due respect to that number, and I'm not saying it's not true. I'm saying it is unpublished data.
Yeah.
There's no peer-reviewed scientific literature that cites that. And once again, I believe it probably is a very high number, and it may be that high. But once again.
I think it's because it was in his patients, he said, not overall, it's in his patients that he's seen. So it's sort of like he's just quoting what he's found. But, I mean, I've had Dr. Joel Kahn on as well. Do you know Joel?
Joel Kahn is a good friend of mine.
Yeah, cool. I mean, I feel that you two might sit on either side of the fence and say he's a vegan. I mean, lots of stuff we agree on, but...
Joel and I both trained together, in metabolic cardiology under Mark Houston, and this may be even something. Why don't we save this for the podcast? Let's do that.
I'm already rolling, mate.
You're already rolling.
Yeah, that's what I love to do. I like to just go in with it, and then my guests are like, "What?"
Okay, fantastic. So there are he's Joel Kahn is a vegan cardiologist. There's other vegan cardiologists that are out there. But and there's a lot of agreement amongst us as far as, hey, let's do things organically, and let's get sunshine and sleep, and let's physical activity and get rid of the stress. So all these things that we all talk about together. But obviously where we differ is that I'm a paleo guy and they're vegans. And to me, it's very, very clear that evolution tells us that we're paleo eaters. We're hunter-gatherer diet people. We ate meat, we ate seafood, we ate nuts, seeds, eggs, avocados, coconuts, and variants thereof. We never had wheat bread. We never had oatmeal. We never had, the amount of corn and soy that the typical vegan eats. Every animal species on planet Earth has been a meat and or seafood eater. Every animal either eats other animals or they eat insects. So the vegan is the only person really who's experimenting with their health. And it's funny when people say paleo is fad. How can it be fad when we've been paleo for millions of years? To me, everything else is just a fad. Paleo is the answer, and it's the paleo nutrition, it's the paleo lifestyle. But Dr. Khan and I agree on a lot of different things. Like I said, I will point out there's probably one other bone of contention between us two. And that is in the fact of recommending CT scans. So he recommends coronary calcium scans and screening scans to his patients. I don't. I'm very anti-radiation. I don't think the test helps. It only hurts. And it's, radiation causes heart disease, cancer, brain disease, you name it, the exact things we're trying to prevent. So I would never order a test like that.
Yeah, I think I fall with you on that one. The other thing is he does. This is not here to bash Joel Kahn, because I there's lots of things that he says that are brilliant. Him and Chris Kress had a great conversation on Joe Rogan's podcast. But once again, I think like Chris, once again, I on Chris's side what I've seen. And I went vegan for 6 months. The first 3 I felt good because my body just cleaned itself out. The next 3 I felt terrible, and I deal with lots of very ill vegans, and I'm sure you do. But the other thing that two things that Joel uses and promoted when he was talking was statins, and the other thing was soy. 2 things I really am not a fan of, but we can get into that later. I want to talk to you about that. But
For sure.
But just people out there, Jack, as well, because I'm going to give you a little intro anyway before. But just for your journey, you weren't. I mean, you've got. It's funny because you just said you and Joel studied. You come up together. You studied together, correct? So you said.
Well, I mean, listen, Joel is, first of all, he's a friend of mine, and, we trained together in metabolic cardiology through an organization called A4M. Right. So both of us were practicing cardiologists for many years, and we both found the holistic side, and that's where we trained at A4M. Okay, yeah. I was going to say, it's amazing how people that train together can then still agree on so much, but then differ on so much as well, which is, it's just the way that things go, But yeah, no. So for you got into this. I mean, wasn't your wife quite a big influence on going the holistic journey? My wife was not only a big influencer, she was the influencer. So I'm a board certified cardiologist like my father before me. My father was a brilliant cardiologist in Chicago. He trained at the Cleveland Clinic and the University of Iowa, 2 very prestigious cardiology institutions. He was well published, well traveled, well paid by pharmaceutical companies as well. Mm-hmm. And he was super successful, and I just followed right in his footsteps. And sadly, in his mid-50s, he got sick. He started to become depressed, and we were dumbfounded. Like, why is this guy depressed? He's got family, he's got friends, he's got financial success, just total career success. Everything is wonderful. Why is he depressed? Well, we take him to a psychiatrist, and psychiatrist puts him on some meds, and they don't work. And then his symptoms developed a little bit more into Parkinson's-like symptoms with problems chewing and swallowing, and his face really without emotion, kind of difficulty walking, classical Parkinson's features. And they try him on Parkinson's meds, they don't work. And then finally at the Mayo Clinic, they diagnose him with something called PSP, or progressive supranuclear palsy. And they say at the Mayo Clinic, we have no idea why. We have no treatment for it, and he'll be dead within a few years. And at that time, I met the woman who would change my life, and that's my now wife, Dr. Heather Wolfson. And she is a doctor of chiropractic, as she says, doctor of cause. And she told me exactly why my father was sick. She said he didn't eat well, and he drank too much alcohol, and he took some pharmaceuticals, and he worked in a toxic environment known as the hospital. He wasn't getting good sleep, and certainly in Chicago as a cardiologist, he wasn't getting adequate sunshine. And he was just living in this sickness lifestyle, and that is what caused his demise. So here the Mayo Clinic has no idea, and then I meet this 20-something-year-old chiropractor, and she's got every answer why my father was sick. So I started to change, and
first of all, was that hard for you to hear? Did you have any pushback? Did you say, no, you're wrong, that this is my medical trainers told me this is rubbish, like you're a quack? Did that happen at all, or was it quite like, well, you know what, I might as well try something else because this isn't clearly working?
You know what, Ryan, that is a great question, because a lot of people, a lot of cardiologists would run from someone who questions the entire foundation of mainstream medicine.
Yeah.
A lot of people would run from that because it is. Can you imagine someone tells you that all your medical education was built on sickness and you're in the wrong paradigm, that all you are is a glorified pharmacist? No insult directly to pharmacists, but pharmacists dispense drugs. I mean, that's what, and that's what cardiologists do. It's just pushing drugs and pushing procedures. And here she comes and starts saying all this information. Now, most cardiologists will run because it not only damages their career as far as all the effort and everything they've done, but it also, your revenue stream is based on this faulty premise. So if you're going to give that up, wow, you got to have some serious cojones to do so. Mm-hmm. And I listened to her because I saw how sick my father was. I saw how sick people are and society is. And here, and I started to, I paid attention. I also paid attention because if you've ever seen pictures of my wife, she's totally smoking hot. So the vehicle of what the message was coming in was very enjoyable. But that being said, in all honesty, no, it is. I accepted it very quickly because the light bulb went off in my head. I was suddenly out of the matrix. And I was into reality, and I've never looked back.
Yeah, I mean, you look healthy yourself. Hey, did you get healthier? Did you notice yourself feeling better by applying the principles?
Well, you know what, Ryan? And I get asked that very often. I get asked, do I feel better in this lifestyle? I would definitely say I do. But you know what? When I met my wife, I was 34 years old.
Okay.
And I felt pretty good at that time. I didn't have any issues with energy or chronic disease, elevated blood sugar, or blood pressure, anything like that. I felt pretty darn good. Mm-hmm. So for me, the answer is that people will feel dramatically better if they are sick when they follow the things that I talk about, and the things I talk about in my book, Amazon bestseller, The Paleo Cardiologist. But it's also about prevention. I don't want to become my father. So my father felt really good my father felt really good when he was 35. And if we would have given him this information when he was 35, it's all about prevention is where I'm using this information.
Yeah, no, I was going to say that, with obviously epigenetics telling us, you got the genes in there possibly to have the same diseases as your father, but, if you live a certain way, you'll never express them. So, it's just a good prevention's better than cure, right? But,
Ryan, if I can, I just want to address that genes issue, real fast. And that I don't believe in the genetic hypothesis. When I was in medical school in the mid-90s, it was all about the Human Genome Project, and we're going to learn about all the different, genes that cause X, Y, and Z. It turns out, after all those years and billions spent, it's not about the genes. Like you said, it's all about epigenetics. It's how the environment affects our genes. We are not genetically designed to have disease. We are genetically designed to be healthy. And listen to us. We can walk and talk and run, and we can eat and drink, and we can love, and we can make new babies. We can do some pretty amazing things. Where do faulty genetics come into that? Where does the heart attack gene or the stroke gene come into that? The answer is they don't.
Yeah, no, I always say to it's said quite a lot on the show as well. It's like you don't see a rattlesnake having Crohn's disease or an alligator with PCOS. These are all things modern lifestyle issues that we've done ourselves through this. Say your genes load the gun, but your lifestyle pulls the trigger. And 100%, I agree with you. That there's people living healthy, and it's great to hear. That's why I love getting people like yourself on the show, cardiologists with medical background, coming out and saying, look, this is the holistic lifestyle, taking care of your diet and your lifestyle. It's huge. And that was your journey as well, to meet your wife, who's a chiropractor, for example. They look at the whole body, and they're all about health. And I'm sure your wife's got probably had more background in nutrition and wellness than most MDs, correct?
Oh, no, listen, it's very well known. Harvard Medical School has published this, that the lack of nutrition, the lack of fundamental causation that is taught in medical school is very well known. We don't get nutrition training. We don't get lifestyle training about the importance of, once again, sleep and getting the stress out and getting sunshine and physical activity. Even we don't even get that, as well. So yeah, medical training is all about pills and surgeries. and medical training is just garbage. So I'm very well known to be up on stage to tell people to find a holistic doctor, and your best resource there is always going to be the chiropractor, and you're finding a functional chiropractor that not only adjusts but also talks about the health and wellness lifestyle, and they're out and they're all over. I did want to add one more kind of story that I like to tell from the stage, and I like to tell from my patients about whether it's genetics or not. So if we remember the movie with Tom Hanks called Castaway, and Castaway, Tom Hanks winds up on the remote island, and he's by himself. If you remember the movie, or I don't know if you've seen it, but with the volleyball Wilson.
Yeah, Wilson. Yeah, Wilson.
So he's on the island with the volleyball Wilson. If we all lived on that island, and we went to sleep with the sun down, awoke with the sunrise, we were in and out of the sun all day. It was a chemical pollution-free environment. It was an environment where you would eat coconuts and fish and vegetables. If we all lived on that island, we would never get sick. We would live until we're 130 and then not wake up one day. That's or longer. That is how we would live. I've got no doubt about it. So what I teach people is to find that island as much as possible.
Yeah, 100%. And that's like within the modern world, doing the things that you can to, to promote health. Look, we've got people, this is one of the things that a lot of the doctors, you see it in the mainstream quite a lot, saying, detoxification and cleansing is all rubbish, the body cleanses itself, etc. And it's like, yeah, it does, 100%, but we're not in 1940 anymore, we're in 2018, and we've got an abundance of industrial chemicals, like electromagnetic frequencies coming in, food's not as high quality as it was before, the water supply, there's a million and one things that people are doing, and so that's why we have to, as much as we can, I think it was actually Thomas Levy said before in my last show, not even this one, I think he said, one of his mentors said, you can't dry off when you're still in the shower. And I think that just puts it in such perspective. You need to get yourself, try to remove as much as the toxins and health disastrous foods as possible coming in, and then we can go from there. And 100% agree with you about the island.
Well, it's hard to get healthy in the same environment where you got sick.
Yeah.
And that's kind of my analogy that I tell people is that, if you are sick, you've got to do some radical changes. And the more radical changes you make, the better off your health is going to be. So whether it's leaving your house or leaving your city and leaving your job, leaving your old diet behind, leaving your old lifestyle behind, the more we do that, the better off our health is going to be, for sure.
Yeah, 100%. And now, what you touched on there, because I've got a few I want to get into here, but you touched on before, your dad was a normal cardiologist, but he was from the medical profession, and you went on trips, and I think I saw you talking to Health Ranger about it, and saying that you went on these paid trips, and you had all the perks, etc. And it's hard for people. I've had Jessica Petros on and saying when she gave up her $400,000 a year or K a year job, and when she went into this, almost a quarter. I mean, was that hard for you? I mean, you're not getting kickbacks from the pharmaceutical companies, like a lot of people do. Was it hard to give all that up?
Well, as far as the payola from pharmaceutical companies, that has somewhat diminished compared to my father's day. So I told the story of when I was in high school, and we went on a trip to Hawaii, and we all flew on the plane. We stayed in the hotel. We ate all the meals, all the things that we did, all the trips and excursions. And my father spoke for 1 hour, courtesy of Merck Pharmaceuticals. So those days are certainly less, those are gone compared to what there is now. But now there's lunches, there's dinners, there's dinner programs, all those things that the pharmaceutical companies and reps do to entice us. Pharmaceutical companies don't develop drugs. Pharmaceutical companies are marketing companies. They are there. They take the drugs from the universities from around the world, and then they market them. That's all they do, is that they're marketing companies, and they're very good at that. I left my job. When I left my job, it was a 7-figure a year salary. I was making $1 million a year as a senior partner with the largest group in the state of Arizona. So I gave all that up And that's, once again, like I talked about before, it's very difficult to give that up because, I mean, that's major money. Most people wouldn't even think about letting the truth in because the truth will end the salary of what if you're going to act on that. But, Ryan, for me, it was all about my children and my wife, and kind of, a little cliche, but, when you're laying on your deathbed and you're thinking about what you did in your life, I stayed on the job that I hated, and I danced with the devil. But I did it for the money, and I did it to make sure that, every year you get a lot of Christmas presents. So I never wanted to be that guy. I'm never going to be that guy. I left that practice in 2012, and like I said before, I've never looked back.
Yeah, it's awesome, and it's great that people like yourself doing it because it lets other people coming through that agree with you who are in the business, who are doing in that job, in that sort of arena, surrounded by other people, have the confidence to go and maybe follow your path and say, look, I 100% agree with Dr. Wolfson's doing, and even Joel Kahn in certain areas, and Levy, etc. And it gives them the confidence to go and say, look, you can be successful, and people do. And this health movement is coming out. Now, I'm just wondering, do you get any sort of criticism from other cardiologists that are still in the medical industry? When you talked to Mike Adams before, I remember you were saying that these cardiologists are basically killing millions of people, and literally, if they gave their clients better advice, they could save a lot of these deaths. Have you had any kickback, any criticism from things like that?
Well, obviously mainstream cardiology is going to be against my message, just from the top on down. The governing bodies of cardiologists, the American College of Cardiology, they are all funded heavily by the pharmaceutical industry. So the mainstream organizations will be against any of this health and wellness message. The hospitals love sick people, so they're against the message. The cardiologists love sick people, so they're against the message. Nobody wants to teach about health and wellness, so a lot of these people are against me. I tried to teach my 40 partners in my old group, and the vast majority had no interest whatsoever. Now, it's interesting that the managing partner said, you know what, Jack, I love the things that you're saying. I agree with so much of what you're saying, but it's bad for business. So you got to stand down. You can't talk like that as part of this practice. So that was, quite obvious. The writing was on the wall that I had to leave the group in 2012. And, but the reality is that the revolution is on. So these people we're going to leave them in the dust. We're going to leave them in the dust, and we're going to teach the world the right way to live and to prevent heart disease. That's why I became a doctor, was to do good by people and good by society. And, if other people are detracting from what I have to say, so be it. But I do have blog posts out there that statin drugs are killing millions, just like you said, Ryan. And they're killing millions because it is a false sense of complacency. People think, and I used to think the same way and tell people the same way, you can eat whatever you want. You can live however you want. Just take your statin drug and your aspirin and your blood pressure drugs and your diabetes drugs. And I was, for lack of a better word, I was an idiot. I was a fool. I was brainwashed into that system. And the reality is that statin drugs, at best case scenario, in certain populations, lower the risk of heart attack from 6% down to 4.5%. Well, that still means that we failed the 4.5% of the people. And I don't want to fail those 4.5%. So that 4.5% adds up to millions of people. And therefore, statins are killing millions because it's the false sense of health. And you're not healthy if you're on a drug.
Yeah, I want to get into statins and just what they do. But just quickly, like me being, I'm a health coach, you're a medical school. I'm sure you're much cleverer than me. But let's just go into, from a layman's point of view. Your body raises its blood pressure. Just say raises its blood pressure. And so they give you these drugs to lower your blood pressure and put you within a healthy range. Okay. First of all, surely I wear a size 10 and you might wear a size 8 shoe. Surely we've all got different healthy ranges, depending on what. And also, if your body's raised your blood pressure, surely it's raised it for a reason, because it needs that pressure to be up so it can pump the blood and nutrients all around the body, because other things are happening that have meant that it needs to do that. So just by lowering it with a chemical, surely that just means the body's going to have to fight harder to then try to raise it again. Does that make sense what I'm trying to say?
Well, the question is exactly, why does blood pressure go up? And is it a physiologic response to sickness, like you said, for the heart and the vasculature are trying to increase perfusion of certain organs? I think that may be a small part of it, and there's really not any scientific evidence of that that I'm aware of. I think the reality is that the body has a delicate balancing mechanism. It's producing factors that can increase blood pressure, and then there's also factors that help to lower blood pressure. And these should be in a very delicate balance, and therefore our blood pressure is normal. And yeah, in one person it may be 110/70, the next person it may be 118/76, whatever those numbers may be. But the problem is that we are no longer giving the body the things it needs to balance the blood pressure. So our body is producing all these factors that raise blood pressure, but we're not giving it the things that help lower blood pressure, like sunshine, like sleep, like getting stress out of our lives, like spices. The spice industry, rosemary, thyme, oregano, cumin, turmeric, bay leaves, marjoram, celery seed, all these things are natural blood pressure reducing molecules. And this is all in the literature. And I've got all that on my website, top 10 spices for heart health and other top 10 spices for heart health. It's all in the literature. It's just the cardiologists aren't teaching it. So the human body is not deficient in blood pressure drugs, but it's certainly deficient in sunshine, sleep, stress reduction, and spices.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I give my dad, because he had it, another client, so celery juice I'm a big fan of as well, lemon, beetroot, I think you said beetroot, didn't you? Yeah, beetroot for reducing the blood pressure. But it's just, when it's like, the funny thing is, these things may or may not sort of acutely lower blood pressure, but what they're doing instead is you're giving the body nutrients, healthy nutrients that allow it to be healthy, which therefore lowers blood pressure because the body's finding its equilibrium again. You're not putting in processed garbage, high sugar, refined foods, yeah, it's just 100%. It's awesome to hear cardiologists talk like that rather than saying just for people out there. Dr. Wolfson, statin drugs. What are they doing? They're a cholesterol-lowering drug, correct? Is that all they do? Just lower the cholesterol in the body?
Yeah, statin drugs are a pharmaceutical class, and of course that's things like Crestor, Zocor, Lipitor, and then generically it'll end in statin, so atorvastatin, rosuvastatin, simvastatin, and on and on. And cholesterol has been deemed to be dangerous, falsely accused, since the 1950s and 60s. And nonetheless, of course, the pharmaceutical companies capitalize on that. And there were some early drugs, and then the statin drugs came out. And the first one of which was lovastatin, developed by Merck Pharmaceuticals. And my father was certainly in that heyday period of the brand name was called Mevacor. But what the statin drug is designed to do originally was to lower cholesterol levels. But there are other what are called pleiotropic effects of statin drugs that may be involved in plaque stabilization and lower inflammation and promote antiplatelet activity. There's a lot of things that statin drugs can do, but quite simply, heart attacks and coronary disease are not because we are deficient in statin drugs. Our bodies are reacting to its environment, and if we go to a healthy environment, we certainly don't need statin drugs. And statin drugs are riddled with side effects, liver, muscle, kidney, brain. I've seen this, and it's all over the medical literature. And then in addition, some of these things that when you block the enzyme, the HMG-CoA reductase enzyme, of which statins do, well, the downstream effects are lower cholesterol because cholesterol is blocked, but also CoQ10 production is blocked, and something called dolacol is blocked, and dolacol resides in the brain. In the substantia nigra, which is linked to Parkinson's symptoms, which is my father took Lipitor. So all these dots are pretty easy to connect in the literature. You're not going to hear this from your mainstream doctor. They're just going to say, oh, I take a statin drug, go ahead and take it too. But it is a major, major mistake. There's other things that are blocked from statin drugs. Prenylated proteins are blocked. And plenty of other things, and also things that we don't even, understand yet that are blocked as well.
No, I mean, they're trying. I think at one point they were even trying to put it in this drinking water, like fluoride, weren't they? Statins.
Well, clearly you can make the extrapolation that pharmaceutical companies would love to put it in the drinking water. And no, I mean, I was around when I made those comments as well. I was, once again, I was ignorant to the reality. I was in the wrong paradigm in telling people to add statin drugs to drinking water. Yeah, it would just be an absolute fallacy. Now, what's interesting is that there's been reports that society in general, their cholesterol levels are dropping, and I can only think of one reason why, and it's because statins are in the drinking water, because millions and millions of people are taking statin drugs, and then they urinate it, and it goes down in the toilet, and it goes into the water system, and it goes into the groundwater, and now everybody's taking a statin drug.
Yeah, that's the same, I suppose. That's why I always say. I don't know if you do as well. I sell these whole house water filtration systems, because I mean, it's not just statins. Every other drug that people put down the toilet, bleach, and whatever everyone else is putting down, they all end up in drinking water. And yeah, as you say, it's coming in. And not only are you drinking it, you're cooking your food in it, you're showering in it, you're brushing your teeth in it. You can't get away from it. So having clean water is it's vital. For it coming in. You don't know. But the other thing, putting drugs like fluoride and statins in these, it's not even the correct dose for anyone. It's just mass dosing, everyone getting the same. It's madness. I just don't understand how it's even legal. It's just mental to talk about it, And the other thing with statin being a cholesterol lowering drug, we know, like from studies, that people with the highest cholesterol live the longest. It's also a precursor to every sex hormone in the body. It's vital for our health. Cholesterol is a pretty important part of our makeup. Correct?
Well, like you said, the body makes cholesterol for a reason. Every animal on planet Earth makes cholesterol for a reason. A chicken's egg contains cholesterol for a reason, because that's how you will bring a chicken to life. You cannot bring a chicken to life eating oatmeal. So cholesterol-rich foods are very, very important. Mother's milk, breast milk, mammal milk.
Highest cholesterol food on earth, isn't it? Highest cholesterol food on earth?
It's got high cholesterol, and it's got a lot of saturated fat. Two things that the dummies tell us are bad for us. And obviously they are extremely wrong. Cholesterol, as you said, is for our digestion, is for our sex hormones. When the sun hits cholesterol in the skin, it turns it into vitamin D. When all cells are encased in what's known as the cell membrane, or the fence that keeps things inside the cell that belong and keeps things outside of the cell that don't belong, and that fence is made up of cholesterol. In addition, the cholesterol that is in the cell membrane is responsible for the cells being able to breathe. So get this, Ryan. The cholesterol in the cell membrane allows carbon dioxide, the waste product from cellular mitochondrial respiration. Carbon dioxide leaves the cell through a cholesterol raft. And if you diminish the amount of cholesterol in the cellular raft, you're done. Your cells will become acidotic, and the cells will die, and nothing will function inside of that acidic environment. And there is evidence that statin drugs decrease the brain cell cholesterol in the cell membrane. This is very, very important information that not many people are talking about, and that is late-breaking research as of 2018.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, I think Dr. Caldwell even said years ago, it's like, statin drugs, they say it's just cholesterol and drugs, your brain's like 98% cholesterol. I don't know if it's 98%, but it's up there. It's like brain shrinking. And talking about how cholesterol, on burn walls, they give people lots of eggs, as you said, because they're high in cholesterol, and cholesterol builds the body back up. It builds the skin. It's phenomenal for the immune system. It's huge. And you're saying there that's huge if it can carry toxins out of cells. I mean, it's almost like it's almost like they are getting this all wrong on purpose. I don't know.
Well, I mean, listen, obviously the world history is full of some evil people that are driven solely by money and power and greed. So to say that the pharmaceutical companies are any different would obviously be a mistake.
Yeah.
And, once again, there are people that the sickness system that starts from, when we're in our mother's womb to the day we die, they want a captive audience. They don't want you to die. They just want you to be sick for a long time.
Cradle to grave. Yeah, they got drugs prescribed, cradle to grave. And as you said about your former partners in your clinic, they said, look, I agree with everything you say, but it's bad for business. It's like, well, that's exactly the same as the 5 food companies that produce 90% of the food. They're pillaging and raping the soil and the earth, but they don't want to stop because that's their profit margin. It's at what point do you realise that if you don't stop, you're going to destroy destroy your family's lives as well. So we're under the same umbrella. You're not immune from this. And so I heard you talking with Mike Adams about it as well, and I heard Chris Kresser talking. The biggest threat to our economy is actually chronic disease. I think it was chronic disease will generate like $47 trillion in healthcare costs globally by 2030. If the epidemic's unchecked, and that's more than the annual GDP of the 6 largest economies in the world. It's just like we cannot. If it goes into that, we're from what of a better. Well, we're fucked. Put it that way. Like that's going to completely destroy our economy and yours. So these are things that people like yourself and everyone else in the holistic health world. We need to get this message out because I don't think people understand how much it's going to affect their lives.
Well, obviously there's a lot of different opinions when it comes to who should pay for health care. Should it be a universal mandate where the government covers health care? Is it something where we go to the other extreme and say, let's just abolish all insurance companies? Let's just make it 100% cash for whatever's necessary, just like anything else in life. If you want to hire an attorney, if you want to buy a car, if you want to buy a house, if you want to buy clothing, it is all fee for service. It's all cash-based economy. Just
before you go there, 1 second, because I 100% want to carry on with that. I just want to say, wouldn't that as well, if you're paying out of your own pocket, mean that people search for the best people with the best results rather than just going to people because it's for free?
Ryan, that is the only solution. You have to put the responsibility back into the hands of the consumer. So for example, with the health savings account, you can obviously put money away and then you can use it on whatever medical services you want and you pay a low monthly premium, but it puts the impetus on the person to want to remain healthy and to not develop diabetes and therefore take drugs or not develop, heart attack or cancer, whatever it may be, to get into their system. Because when you talk about all these numbers, $47 trillion, that's all government debt. That's all funny money. The reality is that it is the government and the insurance industry that has destroyed health because, like you said, if you're a 60-year-old person and you got this Cadillac health plan, what do you care what's spent? If you're a Medicare person, what do you care what's spent? It all comes out of the government. Well, the government is the taxpayer, and that becomes debt for our children and children's children. And and the reality is if we educate everybody to take their health back into their own hands and also, once again, provide financial incentives to stay healthy, that's really going to be where the change happens.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think you mentioned a new drug that's come to the market as well. Like it was PCSK9 at $15,000 a year. It's going to cost people to have that.
But see, that's the thing is that, there is a cholesterol lowering drug that dramatically lowers numbers down. It doesn't save any lives, according to the New England Journal of Medicine article in the spring of 2017, one of the biggest medical journals in the world. So for $15,000 a year, it's not saving any lives. So who's going to pay for that? Well, I guess if you're on Medicare and Medicare pays for it, you're like, all right, who cares? If you've got some Cadillac insurance plan, you're like, okay, they'll figure it out. But no person in their right mind is going to pay for $15,000 a year for a pharmaceutical. But that's just, especially when it's not saving any lives. So it's just insanity how this happens, and how pharmaceutical companies can charge that kind of money, how people will allow their insurance, but that's who's paying for it. It's the taxpayer. It's not the individual Medicare person.
Yeah, fundamentally the model is broken. Same here with the NHS. Like I always say, when it comes to car crashing and putting people back together like that, phenomenal. But when it comes to chronic illness, people go to them. Eventually, they get put on drugs, then they get put on more drugs. They get put on a higher dose, and they get changed drugs and put on more drugs, and then eventually they come and see someone like myself or you because it hasn't worked, and that could be years down the line. That was my story. That's why I got into it, and it's just fundamentally broken at that level. But people go there because one, people see doctors as rock stars. They're just doing medical industry. Have been told for years. In America, I know it's even worse. Having been over there many times, the adverts that are on TV are just, people will probably assume that they can't be healthy without drugs. The amount of adverts you've got over there, and people start to feel like it's normal to have an illness or a disease. It's not normal. It's just common, and people just they can go to the NHS over here because it's free. And I know people have like health insurance over where you are, but I think people need to start looking at it a different way and start saying, well, who gets the best results, or like rather than it's what you got to put. I suppose it's what you value, but when you haven't got your health, you haven't really got anything.
No, that's most certainly true. Like you said, modern medicine, 21st century medicine is fantastic for trauma situations, but for prevention, they have nothing. You, Ryan, know 10 times more about prevention than the vast majority of medical doctors. So I think better, people are, if they're looking for health and they're looking for wellness, they're much better in your hands than their average medical doctor.
Yeah, but better in your hands. Just quickly, because I wanted to talk about the difference between. First of all, just to finish on cholesterol, bit of a jump out, but just to people out there, because people always talk about HDL and LDL cholesterol. What are they actually cholesterol, first of all, and what's the difference? And does it really matter if one's raised and one's lowered?
Well, the body makes LDL cholesterol to distribute things around the body. So if we think of the LDL as a bus, and the passengers on the bus that are being carried around the body are things like cholesterol and triglycerides for energy, and fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, K are on that bus. CoQ10 is on that bus. Other things called phospholipids for cell membrane integrity are on that bus. There's a lot of things that are on that bus. The LDL is very anti-inflammatory. It's an antioxidant. It's an immune regulator. A lot of things the LDL does, and that's why the liver makes it, and that's why all mammals on planet Earth make LDL. It is there for a reason. It is not the bad. Now, it can be damaged. It can be what's known as oxidized, so therefore it becomes dangerous. But then we want to lower our oxidized LDL, but LDL has a purpose. HDL also has a purpose. So HDL is also produced in the liver and travels around the body as, once again, part of the immune system, antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, helps regulate blood sugar, helps regulate blood pressure for that matter. HDL does some wonderful things, including reverse cholesterol transport. So HDL travels around the body, goes to coronary plaque or areas where cholesterol is no longer in need, puts cholesterol back onto the HDL bus and brings it back to the liver for reprocessing. So once again, there's a delicate balance that the body needs of LDL and HDL. Everybody's numbers are different. Your perfect number is different from mine. And if we live the right lifestyle, eat the right foods, get the sunshine, get the sleep, all the things we talk about, we will find the perfect cholesterol and LDL and HDL in each and every one of us.
Yeah, so there's no reason to demonize one or the other.
Correct.
Perfect. And just for people out there as well, because I want to go into your consults and how you work with people as well, compared to a traditional cardiologist. I want to get into that. But just for people out there that, erectile dysfunction has been hugely linked to heart disease and heart issues. What other things do you see, or symptoms would you say to people? Look, well, we know this has been linked to heart disease. We should really start looking at your overall health.
Well, I think once again, if you're overweight, you're automatically not healthy. Mm-hmm. But if you are of normal weight, you don't know what's going on inside. And the only way to really determine what's going on inside is by blood work. And by testing the blood, looking for markers of inflammation, oxidative stress, looking for abnormal lipids, looking at vitamin D, looking at omega-3 levels, looking at homocysteine. There's a lot of different things we can look at, gut permeability, and that's how we can really determine what someone's health status is. But I think, once again, even if you don't have one dime for anything that we're talking about, in many societies around the world, there's plenty of sunshine, and oh, by the way, it's free. And if you go to sleep with the sun down and awake before the sunrise, that's healthy and that's free. Physical activity, going outside for a walk and a bike ride, or a swim or a jog or a hike or starting a garden. Come on, what kind of cost is there to that? So there's really, kind of to be in the 21st century, this is hashtag no excuses. There's no more excuses here to why we can't live the health and wellness lifestyle. There's all the strategies to do it.
Yeah, 100%. And it's a thing where, yeah, I mean, it's taking your health into your own hands, and just for people out there with the erectile dysfunction. I mean, this is the other thing as well. 50% of heart attacks are symptom free. People go out and just don't come back. This is why it's so like getting your health correct. People don't know heart disease, cancer, obviously, but heart disease is one of the highest killers. People just go out and don't come back. So with erectile dysfunction, first of all, Dr. Wolfson, how is that linked to heart disease? And also, if people getting this erectile dysfunction, they then go and see the doctor who gives them Viagra. Couldn't that increase the risk of having a heart attack?
Well, I can't say that Viagra increases heart attack risk. Okay. Viagra is built and was designed as a blood pressure drug, and then they discovered that very interesting side effect about increased erectile function. Because what Viagra does is increases nitric oxide. And of course, most people are deficient in nitric oxide because they're not eating the nitric oxide producing foods. They're not getting the amino acids that help to build nitric oxide. So therefore, nitric oxide levels are low. And in fact, I test nitric oxide levels in my office. And people are not deficient, once again, in Viagra, they're deficient in nitric oxide. Now, is erectile dysfunction linked to cardiovascular disease? Sure. It's just, these are all just sick behaviors or signs of sickness. So whether it's chest pain or heart blockages or low libido or erectile dysfunction, or fatigue or sleeplessness or eczema on the skin, constipation, cancer. These are all manifestations of the root cause. And the root cause, once again, is we've talked about, it's the sleep, it's the sun, it's the food. I know obviously you've done podcasts about dental health and wellness. So it's poor dentition, lack of physical activity. To me, it's vertebral subluxations and lack of chiropractic care. So there's a lot of different things that are causative. And if we remove the cause, then we have the cure. Yeah.
Awesome. So it's basically, once again, you say it's that prevention rather than cure as well. It's going down that route, which a lot of people, it's trying to get that message out, which is awesome. So in your clinic, someone comes to see you. Compared to a normal, or when you were practicing traditional cardiology, you should say, rather than holistic version, what would your consultation look like then, or what would a traditional consultation look like as a cardiologist, and what does your consultation look like now?
Well, conventional cardiology is typically a 10 or 15 minute office visit, and the cardiologist is busy trying to complete the note that they are tasked to do from governing bodies, Medicare, et cetera, making sure that we're documenting everything. And we're just trying to race through that. We're trying to identify what the person's problem is and then figure out how we can finish the note and get that person out of the room as fast as possible and then on to the next patient. And in between, we are trying to figure out what kind of tests we can order on them so we can make plenty of money. So we figure out, let's order a stress test, let's order an echocardiogram, let's order ultrasounds. It is so financially driven, it's sick. And I've been in part of every meeting where that's gone on. And whatever you think is your doomsday worst case scenario with these money grabbers, it's all totally true. I was all part of it. And Now, obviously, it's totally different. Now I spend 75 minutes, 90 minutes, hour and a half with my initial consultation. We do 45-minute follow-ups with people. We do extensive lab testing. We really have a whole educational process. I've got a nurse practitioner. I've got health coaches. I've got nutritionists that work for us. I've got psychology, social workers that work with us. We got a whole team around us to really provide people with a comprehensive strategy to stay healthy in the 21st century world. We've got the best of the best evidence-based supplements. So really a whole plan on total body health and wellness to not only prevent and treat heart disease, but to prevent and treat everything else.
Awesome. And what sort of results are you seeing?
We're seeing tremendous results. My practice is absolutely booming. People are loving it. I've got all the online reviews. People want health. They don't want sickness. Most people, when given the choice, of course, they will choose to avoid pharmaceuticals. But once again, it's getting people over that brainwashing period from the traditional MD, and it's teaching them, these other lifestyle strategies. And that's what my book is about, and the website's about, and what so many other people like yourself in this podcast. My podcast is called The Healthy Heart Show, and on my podcast, that's what we talk about. Is we talk about how to stay healthy in this toxic, polluted world, and staying away from medical doctors is certainly a good start.
Yeah, so your website is www.doctorswolfson.com, correct?
Yeah, so THEDRS, so we abbreviate doctors for my wife and I, Wolfson.com, and then we got thehealthyheartshow.com, and we're really just trying to take it to the world like you are, and make this place a better, make the world a better place for my children and everybody else's. That's what we're doing it for. We're doing it for the children. That's who we're looking to make an impact on, and the future generations.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so people, if they're, you're obviously in the States, do you see people outside the States? Do you see people, you're in Arizona, do you see people in multiple different states?
Yeah, no, people from all over the world either fly out to Arizona, or we do phone conversations with people from all over the world. So I've had plenty of patients from the UK and Norway and Korea and Australia, from the Middle East. Obviously a lot in Canada and from all around the United States. So we're definitely seeing all types in Arizona, and by online communications as well.
No, awesome. It's just for you, just because I wanted to cut the things I want to touch on. In your opinion, as a cardiologist, soy and canola oil, or I should say rapeseed oil. First of all, soy. Do you recommend it?
Well, it's not even whether or not I recommend soy. It's that, is soy paleo food? Their ancestors find soybeans and then pick them and make it into, tofu and tofurkey and soy protein powders and all these different things. Our ancestors never ate soy. If they did, it would have been rare that they would come across the actual soybean plant, and they would recognize it for all the anti-nutrients it has, and therefore it affects thyroid, it affects gut function, it affects hormones, etc. So, I'm not 1,000% against soy, but if you're going to eat soy, it has to be organic, because otherwise it's genetically modified. And the only time I consume soy, and I'm telling you, Ryan, the only time is when I eat fermented soy, and that's an occasional Japanese food called natto or miso, and I do those on occasion. They're a phenomenal source of vitamin K2, and that's why I would consume those foods. Always out of glass, always organic. And then your other comment about canola oil. Canola oil, once again, it's just a highly processed oil, omega-6 oil, throws the balance of omega-6, omega-3 out of line, and therefore I don't consume it. Certainly it is highly genetically modified, so if you're going to do organic canola, but there's just no reason to. There's not enough health value to consuming canola. There is literature that'll talk about some of the benefits of canola, but once again, it's just not something that we need when we have products like olive oil and coconut oil and ghee and grass-fed butter and animal fats to cook in instead.
Oh yeah, just top. I think it's a rancid, terrible rapeseed. It grows anywhere. That's why it's so promoted. They can get it. But the vegetable oils for years. We haven't talked about Ansel Keys and the Trana study. We don't probably have to get into that. Maybe for another time. But one of the things I would say, when that come out this year, the American Heart Association condemning coconut oil, and then the other one, I can't remember her name, coming out and saying that coconut oil is toxic. What would you say to that?
Yeah, I mean, listen, obviously there's islands in the South Pacific where all they do is live on coconuts and coconut products and coconut oil, and their health is tremendous. So, that's all just pharmaceutical companies speak, trying to make us sick. That's all government speak, trying to keep us under control, and keeping us sick. Coconut oil is fantastic. It's wonderful. And we use plenty of it in our household. And once again, it's all part of a healthy strategy. So if you're living the healthy lifestyle, coconut oil is part of that healthy lifestyle. It's kind of like when they study, vitamin E supplements, and they say, oh, vitamin E causes cancer. Well, in the average, fast food, cupcake and alcoholic smoker, yeah, it will. But if you take a healthy person and they're following a healthy lifestyle with nutrition, with sunshine, with sleep, all the things that we talk about, and then they take a quality supplements regimen, it'll do wonders.
Yeah, 100%. And just, I'm with you. Everything we talked about here, Dr. Wolfson. Just for anyone else, or just anything else you'd like to say to people, like to finish on.
Well, I mean, what I would always say as a summary statement is that go find a holistic provider, get away from your medical doctor, and go find someone like Ryan, a health coach. Go find a holistic MD or DO or a chiropractor, someone who's practicing natural medicine. That should be your go-to. If you're in the middle of a trauma situation, go to an emergency room or trauma center. But if you're looking for prevention, you better find someone who does things that are actually preventive instead of a pill pusher. Statins are not prevention. Aspirin's not prevention. CT scans are not prevention. Mammograms are not prevention. Prevention is done with a healthy lifestyle.
Awesome. And your book, The Paleo Cardiologist, you find that on your website and on Amazon?
Yeah, it's on Amazon. It's also on the website. For people around the world, it's probably easier to get it from Amazon and available from them for digital download. But if you're in the States, certainly, or if you're interested in getting a copy of the book from me, I could use the money more so than Amazon. Amazon's doing pretty well. This holiday season and beyond. Feel free to support the Doctors Wolfson and our message.
Perfect. Is it on Audible at all? Do you know?
It is, yes. It's on Amazon, on Audible as well.
Perfect. Okay. I mean, that's just for me. I have to listen. I can't read. I can read, but it take me ages, and I just fall asleep. That's the way I am. I have to listen, and I love to listen even when I'm working out and stuff. It's powerful stuff. Dr. Wolfson, thank you so much for coming on. I'd love to get your wife on the show. I think she'd be a great person to talk to as well. We set that up.
She's pretty hardcore. She would love to be on your show. Let me know anytime in the future.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Take care, my friend.
So, people, that was Dr. Jack Wolfson. Awesome interview. So refreshing to see a cardiologist with those points of views. We talked about Dr. Joel Kahn on here as well. I've had other cardiologists on that, and Dr. Thomas Levy as well. Actually, he's cardiologists that are all into natural health principles as well. Very, very refreshing. So if you want to get Dr. Jack Wolfson's book, you can go to www.doctorswolfson.com, buy it there rather than through Amazon. That'd be great. And you can find out more about him. I really want to get his wife on, as I said before, and we can talk all about that. And his journey and his story is a fascinating one. And this is coming from someone who's a board certified cardiologist, talking about the real truth to health and to heart health. And it's so, it's very brave. You said before, turning down $1 million paycheck every year to go and do his own thing. It does take a lot of courage, and it does take that stepping outside of what you're used to, the norm, the comfort zone, and just really having it's a big ego check to go, look, well, everything that we're doing, I just can't do this anymore. I think it's wrong. I think it's immoral, and that takes a strong character and strong human being. And as I said before, though, his wife had a big influence on that as well, I'm sure, and been pushing him down that rabbit hole. And awesome. So pleased that people like him are out there helping people get to the truth as well. And it's so refreshing when you see a doctor do that, because still in today's day and age, people do put a lot of emphasis onto that word doctor. And so when you get people like Dr. Jack Wolfson talking out about the real benefits of living a holistic lifestyle, diet and exercise, amongst other things, it's just awesome. So that was Dr. Jack Wolfson. Definitely be getting him back as well, and as I said before, getting his wife on. As always, guys and girls, head on over to www.reviveyourself.co for all articles there. Also go to our shop, as I mentioned before, with all our products. something I said before, if you haven't got a whole house of water filtration system, then I definitely suggest you get one. We've got them from Aquitaire, best in the business, bar none. You don't want to distill your water because it just strips out all the nutrients of it of your body after a while. It's one of the things. So this leaves all the good minerals in, as well as cleaning it from 99.9% of all pathogens. So it's awesome. And as I said before, if you are looking for help with a chronic health issue and you haven't been getting where you want to get, and you're looking for support, you're looking for accountability, you're looking for a program and guidance and a plan and structure, then hit me up with a email at ryan@reviveyourself.co and we'll book you in for a call to see if and how we can help you. Otherwise, guys and girls, that's it for this week. Stay happy, stay healthy, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.
If you're struggling with gut issues, such as gas, bloating, constipation, diarrhea, indigestion, heartburn, and want to finally be able to eat the foods you love without the crippling after effects, then don't forget to head over to reviveyourself.co and pick up your free copy of The Healing Health Paradigm today.